That being said, I would like to welcome everyone to our City Council meeting tonight. Glad to see each of you here. If you have a cell phone on you, maybe you might want to turn it down, off, put on vibrate or something. In the event you get a call, you're always welcome to take it, but maybe excuse yourself. It's a good day on Greenwich. Good day in America. So, go USA. Jason Taylor will not be with us tonight. He's our council person, sits on the far left. And Bill Lamline, he was here, excused himself because Bill's a believer in wearing masks. And since I guess none of us had a mask on, or none of the audience had a mask on except for Debbie, I guess he felt uncomfortable. So looks like Bill has excused himself tonight. So there's no mask mandate that I know of yet back in Oldham County or in public buildings that I know of. So, but if that's his feeling, then he certainly has the right to be part of his beliefs. And the fact that Bill has had some sickness over the last year, so he's very protective and watchful of his own health. So that's certainly okay. So that being said, what we always like to do is begin our city council meetings with the pledge of our allegiance. So if you would, for those who can, stand with me. We'll do that for the For those who don't know, this is the greatest city clerk in Kentucky. So Stephanie is a lady of few words. She does her job, but at this time, Stephanie, she does not like for me to talk about her. But if you would, Stephanie, go ahead and call her roll so we can begin our meeting.
Right. Here.
Okay. 6 being present, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We have a agenda for each of the council persons. So if you've had time to look over your agenda from, I think we were late getting them out this past weekend. We got them out on Friday. We had some software complications on Thursday evening, so you have had your agenda packet since Friday. So does anyone have any additions or corrections for our agenda tonight that you'd like to either add or discuss at this time? I have one addition, Mr. Joe. One addition I'd like to add into it doesn't make any difference. It can go after item 15, go 6P. It's basically an agreement between the Commonwealth of Kentucky and our city. What it basically is entailing is a $200,000 grant program that is going to help out our utility commission. And in doing that, what it's basically meant to be and to take care of are those persons who are in arrears and payment of the utility bills and part of the American Care or the CARES Act monies. They have forwarded a lot of money throughout Kentucky to help households try to catch up on the utilities, whether it be electric, water, sewer, possibly cable. I'm not sure about cable TV, but we do have to approve an agreement between ourselves and the Department of Local Government for $200,000. Tri-County Community Action, they will be administering the grant for us, and they have a service fee that's been agreed to prior with KIPTA and themselves of $16,000. So I would like to add that into the agenda to get approval by the council under
have a question on item 783, the repairs to the train tower. I'm just wondering, since that was done by a motorist, is there going to be any reimbursement from insurance to the city because they ran into our train tower?
Corey, please come forward. You worked that project once it was actually hit by a car one evening, and what has occurred there since, sir? I know we will be reimbursed if we have not already been reimbursed, but
it has been repaired. We're still waiting on a bench, of course, but it will be reimbursed by Travelers Insurance. It's already been.
what was the actual cost to have it repaired, Corey? Do you know?
The contractor was $5,600 and the bench was $2,200. Bench was $2,200 and the contractor services were $5,600.
Your insurance will pick up the total charges. And all right, that help out? Any other questions or comments?
Check 794 to Am Legal. The supplemental editing pages, is that part of the payment for what we had passed last month to have them do the whole codification process, or is that something different?
I recall that being the initial down payment, wasn't it, Stephanie, for Am Legal, once we agreed to go forward with them?
Was that the day? Yes, that was that day.
Okay, Heather? Where's Heather? Okay. That is the down payment that you all agreed that we entered into for the codification of our ordinances.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question. Just regarding in general the exercise cards or the use of the cards to get into the community center. This number 782, a refund to Susan Allen of $30. Does everyone have to pay to get into the community center? How's that working? I was unsure what that was.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's not that for us. We should schedule.
Get a card to get in now. You stand in, Andrea.
I think we discussed that at one point.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
You know, since the community center opened back up, you're talking about like a photo ID.
We had discussed it, so I just was checking to see if that was what that was.
We're trying to move in that direction, but Tim Curtis, he hasn't, our parks director part-time, has not gotten that yet. Maybe Tim. Okay, that's on your to-do list. All right, who else would like to ask a question about our payables tonight? No one? Okay, I'm going to take a motion that they be approved as presented. Made by Leslie Wright, seconded by Debbie Pollard. Any discussion on the motion before the council? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know, saying aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you so much. All right, let's go ahead and let's look at all of our bank accounts. We have a number of different bank accounts throughout the city operations. So does anyone see anything there that would rise to the point that you'd like to ask a question about any account? We provide those to you each and every month. Everything's staying in good shape. One at Citizen Union Bank, Code Bank, when we began Springs Park effort, that second line from the bottom, that will be the actual $2 million that I've talked about we have saved to go against the debt of Springs Park, so we will not have to bond as much. So we will be drawing from that account starting when we begin the Springs Park project. Signed the contract to begin the park, I think it was Monday. Was it yesterday? What is day? Tuesday? What is day? Monday? Oh, I signed it Friday. I'm mixed up on my days, but towards the beginning and the breaking ground for Springs Park. It's a $4.5 million project here in our city, so the remainder of it will be on a bond deal for 20 years, so we will utilize that method to finance the park. Anyone have any questions about the accounts themselves? If not,
I have a question. I'm seeing that our tourism account had deposit and disbursements of almost $25,000. Is that just for 1 month of the hotel
That
tax?
was like a month of the camp.
That's still pretty good for our hotels. Thank you.
that's way up. People are really starting to move a lot, and we saw that go down drastically during COVID, but as you can see, a month and a half of tourism tax, it's really bounced back to help out our tourism area. Okay, so is that all for your bank accounts? If so, let's move on to our Silver Grange revenues on our uncollected balances and what's remaining as we begin the fiscal year. We're just in August of the fiscal year. We've only been through 1 month so far, so there has not been a lot expended. But does anyone have any questions early on about anything that's been expended so far? Dude, the way we're moving, we're going to be out here about 7 o'clock. Moving right along. Excuse me? Excuse me? You're still last. We might get a motion to move you up closer, though. Leslie Wright, just for public information, I think last Wednesday or Thursday she had a new hip put in, and she went in at 7 o'clock and was home by noon. So that's what medicine's doing this day and time. Yeah. Started at 7, home at noon, and went back to work. But anybody have any questions on the city revenues and where we are at that point? Take your time, please look at them so everyone at least gets a chance to ask any question that needs to be asked. We're so early in the year that there's not a whole lot of questions. We haven't expended a whole lot really to begin with, but once we get rolling here, we'll start going through it quite fast. But
I'll make a motion to approve the financial reports as presented.
okay, thank you, Leslie. The motion made by Leslie. Is there a second to that motion? Second by Andrew Eskenprice. Any discussion on the motion? If not, those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right, do we have anyone here tonight to speak on behalf of LaGrange Main Street? No one? Does anyone at the council want to speak on behalf of Main Street? Does anyone want to speak anything you know about Main Street?
Council member, but I'll tell you, we're still in the process of looking for a new director. So it's going to be
See, I'm just
Yep.
okay.
That'll be my question. We got a director yet.
we're in the process of putting together a job description and looking around. So, man, we're looking for a director for the Main Street program. Fun job. Right. Pretty cool. It's not a city. It's a 501c3 actually.
Quite a bit going on. You know, we've got, I don't know if it opened up today or not, but there was a new business to be opened up on Main Street. Mike Fraser once again, and he and Alan Lane teamed up to move into a building on the corner there where Shelter Insurance was. So they've done that. We have it's not exactly a Main Street, it's part of Main Street, but this Friday night at LaGrange Square Shopping Center, we have a rescheduled dance coming back up to LaGrange Square with the Alan Lane Band, and Becca is sort of working on it at City Hall for us. We also have a LaGrange Has Talent contest starting at 6 o'clock. That will be before the Alan Lane Band. So if you're around and want to Friday night. Starts at 6 o'clock. So
We got three track sites. Took down Walnut Street, down and Church Street. A lot of groups we got.
can't say enough about how our downtown looks, Corey. Yourself and the flyer, that part, get so many compliments on how nice the downtown looks and how clean it is. So thank you for your street sweeper that wakes me up every morning at 5:30. So he's doing a good job. So thanks for the street sweeper. I think I want to say Elsie bought that during her administration. So everyone appreciates that street sweeper sweeping our town once every week. So thank you very much for that.
The ribbon cutting. Wednesday?
Is that Joe?
Another ribbon cutting Wednesday. Crystal Drive, State Farm? Our State Farm.
Okay.
Crystal Drive.
The strip center across from Crackerville, correct? Okay.
Yeah, we had like 6 in 1 month. So,
Okay, if nothing else on Main Street, let's move ahead. I wish we could, next time we're going to group these two, LaGrange Street with tourism, but in between, what we have in between is a report by LaGrange Utilities by Scott Treese. Scott, if you'd like to come up tonight and speak to the council about anything you'd like to mention to them about your financial report. So welcome tonight, Scott.
Yeah, you all should have got my email with our financial from last month. So if you have any questions about that, I'll be happy and glad to answer those for you. In the meantime, we'll go through some of our projects that's in ongoing and upcoming. So the South Pump Station on New Moody Lane, we're winding down on that project. It's in service. We've got a few punch list items that we're awaiting to get corrected, and the fencing to go in. And once we get that project will be closing out for us. So it's gone well. Pear Orchard Pump Station, we did finally get a contractor on site Friday of last week. So we're getting started with that project late, but actually getting started. And then the North Interceptor, last month we bid that project and rejected the bids. The bids came in really high, but so we're having we're rebidding the project. That opens next week on Thursday. We had a pre-bid meeting on site this past Thursday, and we did have some interest, some folks there. So we feel like we're going to get 2 or 3 bids on this project, and hopefully be able to move forward with that project. We did get our funding secured through the selling of bonds. You all did a resolution last month, and then we went ahead and done ours too. And so that's all finished. So I think we could actually start drawing money tomorrow, I believe is what they had told me on the timeline on that. Other than that, just normal day-to-day stuff, which is enough to keep everybody busy. So it's been hot. The guys have been out working diligently in the heat, and I want to give them a lot of praise for staying out there and getting things done that need to be done. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
work to do on the parking lot, Scott?
We've got we've got the awning. I've got it ordered. That's going over the drive-through. We've still got sliding to doing the fence, and we're going to discuss that where we've got to separate the parking lots, where we're going to put shrubs in. We may have some different ideas with the fencing that has been put in across the road. We thought we might lean towards something like that. So I'm going to discuss that with the board a little bit more and look at our options there on how to finish that up. Did order signage through Public Works for the drive-through and the lobby, and Public Works is going to get our sidewalks formed up for us and poured in the coming weeks or months, hopefully. And then striping. They're going to help us do the striping there in the parking lot, so we should be we're close. It won't be, hopefully in the next month or two we'll have everything completely finished with that project.
They're already.
A lot better. It's definitely an improvement.
I just wanted to give you and your guys credit. I saw on Facebook a constituent had called me and said she was having a problem with her sewer line, and it was a Friday afternoon, and I told her who to call, and you were out immediately and fixed the problem. And I don't know many cities where that happens, so
That's what we're here for. Thank you. But we're just doing our job at that.
And so that was really great.
We have a good responsive staff.
Can you tell us about the new subdivision going in on Jericho Road?
Yeah, so it's 203, I believe, going to be 203 homes, and so we've been discussing. I've been in several meetings. The TRC had a meeting on it, and I think they're getting ready to go to what's their next step? I can't.
Planning zone.
Planning zone. Yeah, that's their next step on that. So it's moving forward. I haven't seen any. I've talked with all of them about the water and sewer aspect of that, because that will be all in LaGrange Utilities service area, and so we have had some meetings over that, and so they'll be developing site plans and getting those to us to review shortly, I'm sure.
I think there's a lot of new talk about a lot of different types of impacts on your system. I'm talking about new growth, new things, apartments.
Yeah, and we're looking at
like 3 calls about different apartment projects in the last 24 hours, and basically they all need zoning changes. They're just sitting in different places in the city, so evidently there must be a big demand for apartments right now.
there's that, and then we've got we're looking at making sure, we've got quite a bit of capacity available at the sewer plant right now, but we're reviewing all that with our engineers. We're going through to make sure, with the growth that's going on now and potential growth in the future, to make sure we're in good standing to support all that.
Okay, well, we'll follow those through the planning and zoning process, and then I think the one on Jericho Road, it'll come back to City Council for a zoning change request. I believe that has a partial area zoned already multifamily R4, but I think they want to take that and convert it into R2, either R2, R2A residential, thus eliminating the multifamily there. So that's what's going to take place on Jericho Road. Okay. Okay, is everyone okay with Scott's balance sheet tonight? Have you had a chance to look at it? If you have, I always like to get a motion that we seen Scott here. We approved his financial report. So if anybody'd like to do that, I'd appreciate that at this time. Motion made by Elsie Carter, second by Leslie Wright. Any discussion on the motion at this time? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thanks, Scott. You might want to hang around for that other item tonight. Okay, thanks, sir. How about LaGrange Tourism? Anybody want to speak on behalf of tourism tonight in our city? Andrew, you want to fill in there a little bit?
I mean, I reached out to Donna, head of tourism, earlier today to let her know about the meeting. Didn't hear back, but I can tell you, I know she was submitting the budgets to the state on what their plans are for next year. And hopefully next meeting she can come and give a council update on that. And like I said, in the financials, I do see that our hotel revenues are up. So that's great news. All I have.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments about the tourism at all? Do you know when their next meeting is, perhaps?
I do not.
All right. Tonight we always allow anyone speaking to come to speak to the city council. Public comment time. We'll give you up to 4 minutes if you have a comment, thought process, or you'd like to speak to the council about any matter. Tracy, you want to speak to us tonight? Okay. Good to see you tonight, Tracy.
You mean 604 Lakeview Drive, LaGrange, Kentucky. I just want to tell y'all how nice our roads look since they've been paved.
They did a fine job down your neighborhood, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Thank Corey thank Corey for getting it done. The city council for providing the money for it. How about that?
Yep.
So They did it, and believe me, they needed it, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
They needed it.
You just feel like them they didn't pay. I had no idea.
I think it was 100 years ago.
I know it had been. It had been since 1995 on that.
Yeah. Well, I was down there today. They look really nice.
Yes, they did.
Did they get the speed humps put back in where they belong?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming up and complimenting the efforts of Corey and City Council, Tracy. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Any other further comment, public? Mike Berry, any public comment? Okay. Mike's cool. All right. Thank you all for that. Tonight we have with us our partners from Hollenbach OR Partners, Hollenbach Oakley, Talmadge Hawker, Little Talmadge I call him. So anyway, but David Bazanis and Sandy are here. So David, would you like to introduce our development partners for Oldham Reserve?
Thank you, Mayor Black. Good evening, City Council. My name is David Bazanis. I'm with the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Office here in Oldham County. I also serve as the Executive Director of the Oldham LaGrange Development Authority, which, as you know, is the board of directors that oversees the management of Oldham Reserve. In 2013, they entered into a master development agreement with the group behind me. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Mr. John Hollenbach.
Mr. Mayor, Council,
Welcome, John.
thank you.
Dean.
It's been a long time since it feels like that we've been up here to give you all an update on everything that's been going on over at Oldham Reserve. On behalf of my partners, Talmadge Hawker, Talmadge Jr., Craig Oakley, it's good to get back in front of you all and give you an update on where things are and a lot of the activity that's been going on. We're really getting to the point now with the most recent sale that Oldham Reserve is finally starting to bear some fruit. We've been working with a lot of members of this council and Mayor Black for quite some time, as well as David and Sandy, on what we knew the park needed in order to make it a Class A business park, in order to attract the type of jobs that you all were looking for, the type of facilities and mixed use nature of the development that will allow it to be sort of a live, work, and play environment where you'll have ultimately multifamily and other residential options to help feed buildings that are there, both retail, office, and other, in order to generate the income and the revenue and allow it to develop as we've seen. Give you an update tonight, and I'm going to introduce our Director of Commercial Development, Dustin Kaufman, to tell you a little bit about where we are, what we've been doing, and then Talmadge or Greg or I can answer any questions you all might have as it relates to the presentation, or thoughts or ideas, or anything you've heard from any of your constituents that might pertain to it. So without further ado, Dustin Kaufman.
What type of media outlet we have contracted one of our employees to help me with this. I'm going to go through our notes, and Emma's going to go through our presentation. If okay, we'll have it here on the screen.
Sure.
Great.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, we ran into an issue.
But you're on the intake.
Password. It's the general access. It looks like that's right. I've only got a few. Well, great. We've got a short presentation that we wanted to present tonight to the council, and thank you again, a great city council, as John said, to allow us for our annual opportunity to provide updates about Oldham Reserve, a project that we're very excited to be a part of. So without further ado, I'll jump right into the presentation. I've got a few different sections I want to cover tonight, one of which we've got a slide that will recognize you, your council. We've also got one that will share the ODA Board of Directors, current members, and then OR partners and additional staff members that are a part of this whole entire team. We're also going to look at past and future milestones, project objectives, marketing and prospecting, We've got some updated aerials we want to share with you tonight, and then an ad that you'll soon see in the lane report.
Dustin, excuse me, if you think we're falling asleep and our heads are looking down, we're looking at the same thing you're showing up there. Okay, so we're looking at we're looking at the monitors down in our desktops. Okay, so I didn't want you to think I was falling asleep on you.
Perfect segue, Mayor. This slide here is to recognize your council. We also wanted to thank Mayor Black for the invitation, as well as his time and energy and involvement in this project. He works very hard with us on the Oldham Reserve project, so I wanted to thank him for his time. Take a moment here to address the other members here of the council. Next slide is the updated board of directors for Oldham Reserve. We've got our new chairman, Magistrate Dye, past chair, Jim Tutt, additional members, and then as mentioned earlier, the OR partner team, John Hollenbeck, Greg Oakley, Talmadge Hawker, and Talmadge Hawker Jr. This slide is the additional staff that I spoke of. This is a portion of it, but the ones that I felt most noteworthy, I think it's already been addressed, but I think additional folks that should be on this team is David and Sandy, who we work with very closely, and very excited to have such a strong team. We've talked about the partners of the project. Additionally, we've got staff covering everything from design, construction, project management, legal, coordination, and sales and marketing. So here are some of our milestones from the past presentation that we had, which was back in July of 2019. We didn't get a chance to speak to you last year, but I think most of you have heard the exciting announcement of Trilogy Health Services. We're very proud to announce the second tenant beyond Rawlings to the park. A couple of the road infrastructure improvements, exit 22 north and southbound, the widening improvements there. I-71 widening that we're all very familiar with. And then most recently, the Eden Parkway extension connecting to what is now new Ernie Harris Parkway, formerly LaGrange Parkway. And we just had a dedication event that turned out really nicely for that, for the new extension. We also wanted to talk about tonight the Peak Road East intersecting. This was about a 925-foot extension that will service the Trilogy once it's open. So, Trilogy Health Services. All right, upcoming milestone, I guess current and upcoming, if you will. The new interchange at Louis Dampier Overpass and Ernie Harris Parkway. With that new interchange, the second bullet is speaking of the appraisal process for those property purchases. That is in progress. Peak Road West is scheduled for design. And as previously mentioned, the I-71 widening, extending to Grange. New Moody Lane, we've got some, I guess this should probably be on my next slide as far as some of the marketing concepts that we're working on, but we've been working on some conceptual exhibits for New Moody Lane that would provide some commercial available tracks that we could market. Our objectives for this project really haven't changed at all. I think we've constantly focused on the fiscal impact and diversifying the tax base, as well as creating quality, sustainable jobs. Constant thoughts of how we can improve the infrastructure as developers. Without the road and utility infrastructure, we don't have anything to sell, or they're not developable. So. And then again, that's something we work with the board every month on. And then ultimately, we are, as John mentioned earlier, trying to create this live, work, play environment. Some marketing and prospecting items to touch on. Very excited. We've got 2 additional team members, Emma Noble and Mary Carol Coon. Some of the continuous efforts that probably go unnoticed in some of the marketing are we're constantly working on the signage, cleaning, repairing, replacing, updating drone aerials and videos, and that's why we've got some of our new members here for social media posts. So that's part of our new campaign. We also have a listing on a national platform known as Crexy, that allows for development type opportunities that don't necessarily have a listing in place. And then we're constantly reaching out to the broker community as well as site selectors that we're familiar with in this marketplace that may be looking regional or national, but trying to bring interest to Oldham Reserve. We've had most recently the Business First article for the Eden Parkway dedication announcement. The event, of course, was held on July 14th. And then, as I mentioned, we've got a land report ad that will be featured here in the next few days. I also touched on, we established an entire marketing campaign that was launched around the Eden Parkway announcement. Anytime we announced Trilogy early on, but then once we were able to announce this new road and utility infrastructure, we built an entire marketing campaign around that, just to bring it to everyone's attention and keep it in front of them. We're also working in-house on updating our plan and the phasing plan that we've been also all familiar with in our board meetings. So we're working on those to have those completed end of Q3 this year. Got some aerials here I wanted to share with you. This is Eden Parkway looking north. Of course, you can see the Rawlings development there, but mainly the focus here is in the middle there for the new roundabout of Peak going west and east and Eden Parkway. This also, I wanted to mention the 75 acres that are outlined there in red. These are what we've identified as the available acreage for new road and utility infrastructure. So very excited to market that property as available tracts. Of course, we can divide those up as the market dictates types of use that would bring to Oldham Reserve. Eden Parkway looking north, another exhibit here showing Rawlings. We've also got the site work for Trilogy Health Services on the right. And then Eden Parkway looking south. Got Rawlings bottom left and the wastewater treatment plant there on the right. So this shows Rawlings, the Trilogy, of course, Eden Parkway, but we also identified all the neighboring amenities up there at the top with logos. That's always an attractive exhibit for the brokerage community when they're trying to identify what amenities are near the park. Got pictures from our recent dedication event. Ernie Harris. And this is the lane report ad that I mentioned. Top copy there reading as new business opportunities await, 75 acres of available tracts with road and utility infrastructure. And we're keeping with the theme, live, work, and play with a multifamily, with retail, obviously search with office and different types of commercial use. Last slide here is just some still imagery from some of our recent drone videos. We'll leave that up and entertain any questions you may have. Sure.
As all of you are well aware, we've been working with LaGrange and Oldham County for quite some time through not only Mayor Black, but previous mayors. One thing that's really impressed us in working in this community is the coordination and cooperation among the City Council, Mayor of LaGrange, Fiscal Court, County Judge, and then your representatives in Frankfort who've been wonderful, David Osborne and Ernie Harris, and their connections through our senators up in Washington. It's really to see over the last 5 or 6 years, and in Talmadge's case probably more than 10, how much with a coordinated effort and your all's help we've been able to accomplish relative to the infrastructure, which is critical for the success of this park, is truly amazing. Starting with just improving the ramps at exit 22, extending LaGrange Parkway, now Ernie Harris Parkway, from the Louis Dampier Bridge down to 53, the extension of Eden Parkway and the extension of Peak Road to allow for this, and the real cherry on top, the widening of 71 to allow for the ramps at Louis Dampier Parkway, which for a park of this scale are absolutely critical for the success. So It's been a long time, and we've worked with a lot of the members of the Oldham board and David and Sandy day in and day out to make sure everybody understands that it's all coming, but certain things have to happen before we can do what we know we're going to be able to do out here, and with the help of this council, fiscal court, representatives in Frankfurt, and our senators, it's finally coming together. So we have certain commitments, as I'm sure you all are aware, and the mayor's probably talked to you all about relative to the development of the park, the acquisition of a certain amount of property within the park on a timeline. We're still fully committed to that. We believe in it. Luckily, the timeline, I think, is going to fall in place where we're going to be buying developable land with the access that people that are going to be living out here and working out here, hopefully coming to entertain out here, are going to need for easy access anywhere in or out of Oldham County or any of the surrounding counties. So I just once again want to reiterate our thanks and appreciation for all the time and the effort of the Oldham board, David and Sandy and their team, you all, fiscal court, and everybody else to get to what is a monumental milestone. Now we just need some beautiful buildings and a lot of jobs to go to realize the dream. With that, if you have any questions of any of us about anything, we have.
Talmadge, Greg. Okay, go right ahead.
When you're provide these, when you're selling the property, does it help at what stage it does subdivide? I mean, come up with divide it up in like 5 acre tracts. How do you?
Typically what we do whenever we do a business park of this scale, the sale of one tract has to fit with the sale of the next. So there's a certain depth that we look for that would fit a 5 acre user, be it an office user or a retail user. We just need to make sure that we don't put ourselves in a position where, as we're developing, we sell a tract here that might prevent the next tract from really being fully utilized. And it's a kind of a bit of an art form, but before we subdivide anything, just like we did with Trilogy, we look at the impact on the adjoining property. In this case, the corner tract right around the circle, to make sure that it's of a scale where it can be further subdivided if it is retail or something of that nature, but that it has an appropriate depth for the setbacks from the right-of-way and the road and parking and everything else to allow maximum flexibility for what we do. So every parcel affects the other, and we look at that together.
One more question. On the appraisal, or talk about the appraisals, is that up in the northwest quadrant area?
I believe at this point we're still waiting on the acquisition of a few parcels of land to allow the development and completion of the interchange to come in around Louis Dampier overpass. So there's still some work the state's doing to coordinate, yes sir, as part of the process to make sure that they have their title.
Are they going to do? Is it eminent domain, or we have willing buyers and so?
At this point, yeah, we always say that they always try to work things out based on an appraisal with appropriate and fair offer before any other action.
Question. In terms, I know we're looking at businesses and homes. Have you guys looked into doing the types of homes that are here in a subdivision, I guess you would call it, at Norton Commons? I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it has been extremely successful just on the east end of Louisville. I wasn't sure if you guys had contacted them at all to see if they'd like to do something like that out here in the city.
Well, we know them well, and we've been in contact with them and quite a few others. What we're looking at for the image of a Class A business park initially in terms of housing is something that will allow businesses to attract and retain the best employees. So initially that'll probably be something in the high-end multifamily sort of range or flexibility. But there are a multitude of different housing options that obviously have to fit with what the vision for the community is and what we think will support everything else we're trying to do out in Oldham Reserve as we're going through that. For a park of this scale with almost 1,000 acres, there will be a lot of flexibility and a lot of diversity that we're going to need to consider in order to make it work and have everything sort of support and feed the other. As Talmadge can tell you, or Talmadge Jr., in any retail environment, you have to have the right mix of tenants, have a healthy center. People need to come in for one and then benefit the other. So we are looking at quite a bit of that right now.
Just to add a couple of things. If you noticed on the ad that we put in the lane report, we used a mixed-use type of building. That's what we want to advertise to promote the town center that is going to be the center of Oldham Reserve. We showed a mixed-use type of building like Norton Common. We had our architect on set. So yes, we want to attract people who live here and work here. That town center, that rotary, as designed, will attract those kinds of uses. And as the mayor said, we're also seeing interest from multifamily as well. So that'll draw places to eat and places to work. And so we're slowly getting to the point where that energy is beginning to build. And the mayor's getting calls, we're getting calls. We just needed to get the infrastructure in so people can get here and see what we have to offer.
That'll also support, you all have one of the greatest employers in the Commonwealth right here in your city with Rollins. And that'll also support what they're trying to do as they continue to grow that campus with, I think, Mayor, it's 1,700.
They were supposed to get to that point. I don't know if they've reached it since COVID hit, but I know they were pushing towards 1,500 at one time. And then COVID hit. I don't know if they're reached that or not.
Just every year as we get the updates on where they are, they're incrementally just continuing to grow. You can see it in their construction schedule as well as the number of people they're employing in jobs. And when businesses are looking in developments like this, and we've done a number of them, they want a place that obviously they can access easily, which is all the infrastructure we've been talking about, but a place that will allow them, as I said earlier, to attract the people that they need to work every day. And that's why this mixed-use environment, I think, is really special and really critical to this long-term success of the park.
Anyone have any other thoughts? I know you all were wishing to see him here tonight, so this is your opportunity. I think if you see up on the screen all these dollars and millions that we talk about, you're seeing it right here as to what it's doing. Takes money to do these kind of things, and that's what's being done. And slowly, spinal cord are coming together on the crossroads and things like that. Your marketing team you've brought on staff, they've done a wonderful job. I'm glad you finally got your marketing team.
Well, we had to wait for the right people, and we found them.
So they've done a wonderful job here. So I thought I heard one of you say we're going to see a video here in a moment, but maybe next time.
See some special team from.
But he's city attorney. He thinks technology a lot. And what was that you were talking about, Reese, along somewhat back beach, about a hub in this part of the country that feeds different broadband. It's a circuitry there. So I mean,
it kind of follows the R's concept: river, railroads, roads, and routers. So I don't know if this concept is still as popular as it was about 10 years ago. These network access points or these large-scale broadband providers link up into a big room full of mostly coupled with data. When I made that presentation 2 years ago, I think what I was talking about was internet access, users, or MTs, Sprint, having huge optical carriers share data. That cracks intellectual property. Microsoft, Google, or environment. Storage, you got server farms and all this. There's a type of a employment base, I think, just the most educated.
The location of the park, if you look at sort of the Golden Triangle in Kentucky, which goes from Louisville to Lexington, Lexington to northern Kentucky, and northern Kentucky back down to the Louisville area, where you're right in the growth corridors, things continue to push out. All the work that's being done on I-265 in Jefferson County will benefit this park tremendously, along with the widening of Interstate 71. Getting from point A to point B, it takes a little bit to convince people that 7 or 8 minute additional drive on Interstate 71 isn't that big a deal. But once you get them out here, you realize how quick it is and how easy it is, and the amenities they need for their people and that they want are available or on their way. That's when the momentum starts. That's when things really start happening. But you're exactly right. We have to have the technology in the park to support what the companies are looking for. Absolutely.
The other thing I've brought up, which the play word, is that some of these tracks over there on the probably gonna be pretty slow. Great to have mountain bike trails. The water utility. Hey, you got. If that's an idea, there's a lot of bike nuts. That attracts an interesting customer base.
It does. And looking at the topography, there are areas of this park that are very challenging topographically. And some of those areas are part of what we're looking at for sort of a mix of residential, because the smaller the footprint, the easier it is to accommodate when you're looking at that. The parks develop, you first kid on the block, and we all already had a big kid on the block with Rawlins, but now we have Trilogy, we have the infrastructure. The first few users are really, really important, not just to gain the momentum, but just to make sure that the facilities themselves and the jobs and the users that are there tie in and fit with the bigger picture. The mayor's been on us for some time, and he's been patient with us about a new and updated and revised development plan, which Justin told you we're working on now, but it'll have all those components into it. So, we won't put the wrong use in an area that we know would develop better for another use if it's part of the big picture. So you see a lot of that. There are a lot of users that are going to want to come to Oldham Reserve. Some of them, as great as they might be in other areas, probably won't fit here. And that's a lot of what we work with David and Sandy in the Oldham. Conceptually, it has to.
You don't make a lot of money just sitting there.
But with that is what we do with the amenities in our parks, though. The big, beautiful lakes and whatnot that we have with jogging trails, they're detention basins. So we try to take every part of it and really make it a part of the park. When you look or when you drive down or drive through most of the projects that we've developed, there's a different feel to it. The utilities are underground, and it's curb and gutter, median divided parkways, and it's irrigated, and the setbacks and the green space requirements and the materials on the buildings, and all those things are taken into account with every plan. So what you ultimately get is a beautiful landscape with consistency in the buildings and the materials and everything else. So it's going to look good for a really, really long time, but you have to put a lot of thought into it and make sure that you're living by a plan that'll allow that vision over time to materialize.
Leslie, I think to your point, as far as the residential component of this park, we've tried our best to shy away from that early on. We felt like this park was to be a business park, to diversify the tax base, try to create some sustainable jobs, hopefully high-paying jobs, and that's what I think that's what our task is. That's not to say that we won't here from that, and there is a certain amount of land set aside for residential per se, but I don't think our intent here was to just go build single-family homes early on at all, or multifamily, primarily because we can do that anywhere we want to in Oldham County. I mean, all you got to do is tell a developer at 100 acres for sale, he wants to know how much you take for it, pretty much. So as we go forward here, we're going to probably mix some multifamily. I don't know about single-family in there just yet, but town center, I like your idea about the Norton Commons type profile, but we got to be careful about that, because really what we need here is to create jobs, because we've seen what the compensation tax within the park, outside the park, has done through employment tax to help fund this infrastructure. So residential housing doesn't do that for us as a city. But the good news here is we've about got our share of our half paid off the $10 or $11 million. So we could knock that out very, very soon. But this is going to be such a huge asset for this city to go forward in the next 40 or 50 years. I won't even be around. You'll remember me, John, but I won't be around. You won't remember me, but this is going to pay off big dividends down the road, and that's what this is all about. You know, we're putting out money today, but down the road, this will be the generation factor, I think, for this city if we do it right.
And I think the first residential that we'll be proposing, as the mayor said, will be something that'll directly support the growth of the businesses that are either there or coming there. Because you do need, the ability to house, especially a lot of the young people that are coming in, to house them, to allow Rollins, to keep and continue to bring the people into Oldham County and into the range that they're going to need to keep growing that company and the other businesses. So it'll be mixed and sort of targeted toward what we think ultimately will support, the reason that we're working with you all right now, and the reason you ultimately brought us in, which is what the mayor said, jobs and economic development.
Anyone else from your side? If not, excuse me. I don't know if Talmadge, he's bashful. He doesn't say much.
He's just here to look good today.
So these guys, they all came from UK together. Okay, they're all UK buddies from back in the day, and they never did learn how to wear socks. But that's just their trademark. But that's okay. Before we leave this item, I would like to say to the council, I did get a thank you card from someone. It said, "Dear Mayor, thank you and the members of the City Council for your part in renaming the LaGrange Parkway in my honor. I've had a few surprises in my life, but none as big and dramatic as this one. It was very humbling to be recognized in such a meaningful way. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you all so much again, Senator Ernie Harris." So he made a lot of this. He made a lot of this happen, and that's great. I mean, it's huge what this senator did for our state. David, come forward, please.
Good. I neglected to say a few things in my intro. I wasn't ready to tee everybody up. I do want to say, just as Sandy and I and Heidi Ockeltree from our office work with this group, that they provide a lot in terms of what they give us when we have a project. The Trilogy Project's a great example of the groups working together. We collaborate, we talk regularly, and in a lot of scenarios, without a master developer, without somebody of their caliber representing us, when we have a lead and somebody wants to move quick with information, they've put together site layouts, site plans. Of course, they have a great reputation with people. They know that we're bringing quality developers to the table, and that's a really big part and component of this. When we are working with a private sector company that's considering Oldham Reserve, they want to work directly with people that are in the business of development. They don't necessarily want to work with pseudo-governmental agencies. They don't necessarily want to work specifically with city councils and county governments. And so this is a great way for the community to be represented by a wonderful development team, and we're really glad to have them here. And we're really excited to celebrate this investment from Trilogy. It's going to bring 125 great paying jobs. an 85,000 square foot Class A facility that's a complement to the things that Mr. Rawlings has started. And really kudos to the Oldham board and all the leadership from this council, all the mayors that are present here, past and present, as well as the fiscal court for sticking to the vision of Oldham Reserve and making sure that we have held to that vision, which is high quality jobs, great infrastructure, and we're excited about the new interchange coming in. So we love working with these guys, and we appreciate them being here tonight, and thank you for inviting us to come to City Council.
Thank you all for the presentation. If you'd like, I know you don't want to stay around because this gets pretty, but you're always welcome to, you know. What's that? Okay, you want to go work on the video? All right. Well, thank you all so much, and we'll wait for another big announcement whenever. All right. Thank you, ladies. All right. Bye, Sandy. Okay, let's go to item 12, everyone. I moved these up a little bit tonight so we could get Corey and a few of those folks out of here early on without them sitting here all night long. But so, Corey, would you like to come tonight and say hello to bye you all? Speak to the city council, Corey, about anything you have going on great, good for our town.
Can you hear me now? This mic's a lot better than yours for some reason.
Is it?
Yes, I can't hear you in the back. Gravelly. You sound like a robot.
That's sad. I can hear you just by talking, but I can't hear you through a microphone.
Can you hear me? You can't hear me through the mic?
Can you?
Whatever.
Hear me now? Yeah. But you got to get down on this. Right. You know, hello. Go ahead.
Sure. Still progressing on our 5th Street project. We are complete with the curb and gutter. The only thing we'll have left, we got a little minor grade work, and then we'll have mill and pave, which will be tied in with our fall paving. We've got our 4-speed humps back in, 2 in LaGrange Acres, and then 2 more on 3rd Street. Striped, put thermal back on them. Of course, Kentucky Street, we got that thing boom mowed again. It's been a headache keeping on top of all the Johnson grass. We got sprayed Friday.
I sprayed it Friday, yeah.
That'll help. I'm sure Joe will keep on top of that and keep me informed. See what it looks like. Let's see. We also have got 3 new city welcome signs placed around town. One on Commerce Parkway, East Jefferson, North 53. If you haven't seen them, they are a good little addition. We've got a couple little caps we're still waiting on to put on, but other than that, we're moving forward. And of course, when we repaved LaGrange Acres, we're kind of taking it upon ourselves to go in and replace all the street name signs and stop signs. Kind of give it a whole new look in LaGrange Acres. So, yeah. It was actually a mistake by the sign company. They weren't supposed to be historic design, but I was like, we'll let it ride. We'll put them up. If people complain about it, then you're going to have to swap them out. But people enjoy them a little bit better anyway. So far, so good. But outside of that, business as usual. Got any questions?
I've had a couple of people who live on Hoffman, just past the entrance to the park, and they're wondering when that section's going to get paved.
Hoffman's already been paid.
They came to me about 2 weeks ago, and it was just past the little bridge type thing, the railing.
Way in the back.
Way towards the back.
We're going to have to replace the bridge. It's all it is now. It's basically like 12 by 12 ties that are just deteriorating. So we're going to have to replace the bridge. See, the paving company didn't want to back the paver across it. They were scared it was going to collapse. Like even the people that live back there, they had to bring their garbage cans across because garbage truck won't go back there either. So it'll be on the
line on that. They said it's been like that for a while. They were just wondering
As far as asphalt, I know the bridge is a little bit deteriorated, but yeah, we'll try to keep it in best shape we can. But yeah, I actually talked to Jay Hall about it. He called me about, as far as if we're supposed to be going all the way to the back, we are, but came down
Does that city street go all the way to the back down there?
back to the corner.
So that bridge
That-
City. Yeah, right to the curve.
The bridge, then right to the curve. Where do we go?
Bridge and design. Hard to say. We'll get it in design. I'd actually talked to Garber Chilton about it last week. We'll try to get it sooner than later, but it'll be next year at best. Probably next summer.
is that farm possibly going to be developed, or is it no?
Oh, the backside.
The Powell farm.
New development going over on Jericho is they're trying to come out on that side with just a walking trail, though. It's not
Walking trail. Yeah, because I don't think the plans are at all to come up Hoffman Lane with any of that traffic. They're not even going to have an exit out there. Okay, so we don't want anybody to think that they are. Well, Corey, I know it's been hot. Y'all been doing a lot of good things for our town. Have any of y'all seen our new city welcome entrance signs that Corey and them put up? A lot of people feel like they feel very good about those 3 signs that Corey's have put up. Y'all just do a lot of things, Corey, and just thank you very much.
One at the front of my neighborhood that says welcome to the Grange.
in and out.
Well, if no one else has anything else for Corey, thanks, sir, and we'll move right along.
I think you're missing the work that you guys are doing on the community center.
Quite done. We still got a little bit of paint and drywall work, but yeah,
Good.
slowly but surely, we try to get it, slide it in when we can. And of course, hotter days or rainy days. Of course, we haven't had many rainy days, so that's why it's kind of dragging a little bit more. Coming along.
Actually, had someone there, I think, measuring Corey's, I guess, has a bid out for bids to maybe do something with the facing of that building we're in. And I guess you're looking for some bids to come in from that. So I saw someone there measuring that. So, okay. Thank you very much, sir.
But new tiles in the all-purpose room too, aren't we? Ceiling tiles.
Dogs, yes. Actually, I've called a couple people to come out and give us a bid, and it's hard to get anybody to show up. So it's been a real big issue with any kind of contract work. So.
Maybe some lighting of some kind, or lighting, or
All that. So. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, sir. Okay, Bruce Goodflesh. He's here tonight. Here and speaking in behalf and in his own behalf for the LaGrange Police Department. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing tonight?
Been good.
Good to see you.
Been good. For the month of July, we had just a little over 600 calls for service, made roughly 175 traffic stops. The extra patrol that we've been doing on West Madison in reference to a complaint, to date, we've completed 105 extra patrols since the complaint came in at the end of March, beginning of April. We survived Oldham County Day, which we're doing good. Thank you, Corey, and City Works for getting all our barricades out, because the way Oldham County Day works, it changes amongst the police departments. It's rotated, but every year it's LaGrange years. LaGrange Police Department's year, because we're responsible for the parade route and all the barricades and everything else. Let's see, we're still 4 officers short. We're working to get qualified applicants. We're developing a application list for lateral and potential recruits, but that's just an ongoing process. We're not getting a whole lot of response on that. Our 2 new vehicles that we purchased, they're delayed on delivery with all the upfitting. They're waiting on parts to come in. So that's the only delay on getting our 2 new vehicles over here on the street. Other than that, hope y'all install some cameras on the new roundabout. People can't figure out the 4-way. I'm going to enjoy watching that one. So
Tell you what, if you go out there and see all those signs, you get mixed up just looking at all the signs. Have you seen the signs out there around that thing to get you around it? That's confusing in itself. But thank you so much, Bruce. Y'all running a fine department. Everything looks sharp. Everything looks good. Appreciate your all's.
Thin, but we're still working.
I also want to appreciate you all for taking care of the little girl's funeral.
Yes, Officer Richin should be back later this month. So.
Doing traffic control to help that little girl and her family out during that time of grief. So I appreciate y'all being at Crestwood the other day for that. Saw you there. So, anyone else have anything for Bruce right at this time? If not, take care and be safe, sir. All right. Okay, Tim Curtis. Good evening, Tim. You didn't? Okay, well, you're all right.
Okay.
The Parks Department.
I put long pants on at least.
Why don't you, Tim, just tell us what you have going on, and then once I move into item 13, I'll let Joe Davenport deal with the item concerning the personal services contract, okay? So you just tell us what you've had going to this point within our park system, and then we'll move on to the next item with Chairman Joe Davenport.
That'll be great. Chairman Davenport, we also be talking a little bit about the community center rates that we're proposing and the ad for the building monitor. I don't know if that was in the packets as well. Well, my contract has expired. I started March 1st, and it ended July 31st. And I just want to give you a brief rundown of some of the things that we got accomplished, and then hopefully we can talk about extending the contract and some additional duties that would be involved with the new contract. Just a few things. We had a fishing weekend for kids out at Wilburn. Started a co-ed volleyball league on Sunday nights. Held a 5K run. I had a kite festival. There's a great video on the Facebook page of a police officer trying to get a kite up in the air. And golf clinic at Eagle Creek that's going on tonight. We had 2 online trivia nights. Our last one was last Thursday night. Also, we worked on designing a new Parks and Recreation logo with Mike Prather, and that went very well, and established a Parks and Rec Facebook page. And as of right now, there's 688 followers for the Parks and Rec Facebook page. That's pretty good, considering there was no Parks and Rec Facebook page before March. I've met with 3 different Eagle Scouts, one of whom completed a project at Wilburn for a hammock circle. I've got 2 others working on some projects for benches and picnic tables. Also, I have developed and implemented a plan to reopen the gym and the community center, which we've already undertaken. And met with Fish and Wildlife to start a program for stocking the lakes at Wilburn and also Eagle Creek Golf Course. And also started working on a few other things regarding the rentals of the community center, how we're going to formalize that, and where we see the department going forward. And as I've gotten into the position, you all, I have to say that there's a lot. There's plenty of stuff to be done here in the Parks Department, and I appreciate the opportunity to do it. Parks and Recreation is my first love, and I'm grateful to you all and the mayor to be able to re-engage in Parks and Rec work here for the city. So anyway, if there's any questions about any of the things that we've done in the past and where we sort of see ourselves going forward, I'll be happy to take those.
Okay, Tim, certainly thank you for your time served. Appreciate what you've done. We could do probably a whole lot more, and as we go forward here, especially with our eventual opening hopefully next season of our Springs Park downtown. It'll be another addition to our park system. So for probably a community of our size, for what we have to offer, including a gymnasium, a community center, you name it, golf course. I mean, how many communities our size own a golf course, own a community center, own a gymnasium, have 5 or so parks, whatever.
Exactly.
So I think we're doing pretty well, and we need almost a person who pushes activities within the parks to keep our children engaged and have some form of organized activity. and that's what our intention was with your hires. So I appreciate the time you've given us. Okay.
Hopefully I've gotten that started for y'all, at least on a part-time basis over the last few months. And I just see it as nothing but growing. It's a great community. We all know that, but we need to make sure everybody out here has the opportunities to do all the things they want. And along with having the facilities that you've got in the parks, it's very important to be offering the activities to the people out there to take advantage of them. So I appreciate the opportunity to do that.
Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and move to 13, and let's begin with Joe Davenport. He's the chairman of our Parks Committee. So, Joe, you're welcome to speak on behalf of the committee, what you all been doing, and anything else in reference to maybe Tim's renewal of his contract.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. Parks Committee actually had 2 meetings this month. We met at Walsh Park July the 14th. We were actually there for 2.5 hours. A lot of discussion, skate park. We discussed Tim's contract. Trey is kind enough to take notes for us. If you want to, anything you want to highlight during that meeting of July the 14th, or?
So on the 14th we talked about.
Excuse me, Trey. Can y'all hear Trey in the back? Okay, as long as I'm wanting to be heard.
How much closer I could get.
You're good.
These mics are terrible. I'm just going to put that on the record. The last ones were way better. But we talked about the openings, I guess, between our last meeting and this meeting, the openings of the bids for the spring park had happened. So we talked about the opening of the bids a little bit. Not really going to go into a ton of details there. Joe's already touched on this. We talked about the skate park location. There have been several places proposed over the years. The latest one was the Southern States, the old Southern States property that I did not know CSX owned that, but they I guess were reached out to on that one a little bit. We did talk about, so when we do move forward with relocation of the skate park, about having a public hearing on it to discuss interest and ideas. We did look at I'm just kind of reading through some of this. The pavilion, so I think we maybe missed that one a little bit. Corey and team had did some renovation for the roof and stuff like that over in that space, and looked really, really good. So we got to see that firsthand in the gazebo. And Tim touched on this as well. We did discuss the facility rental rate proposals, the facility monitor. I don't know who's going to introduce that officially, but I don't want to take that away from Joe. And then we did talk about part of our packet, which is the resolution. So we talked about that a little bit too, I guess, just in our first meeting. You want me to go into second meeting, or you want to touch on that?
Are the facility rates proposal and facility monitor for part-time in the packets, or has the council got those?
They were supposed to come, yes. The rates are before the council tonight, hopefully, Joe, so we can make sure the council confirms those, as well as the facility monitor.
Yeah. I mean, they're more than fair, this rates. We had a big discussion on them, and we pretty much made the decision that they're really fair of what they are compared to, we give the residential rate, the residents a different rate, than somebody that is not a resident of the city, and so I think it worked out real good for the way the rates are set up. And like I say, I can't iterate enough. They're more than fair. So we also had a facility monitor for part-time for LaGrange Community Center when we get it opened up and get it going. You know, we discussed if we can find somebody maybe for $9 an hour. So that's all in the packet, and you know, and we can keep that person busy while they're there. And so that was about it on the I think the July the 14th meeting.
Let's go ahead, Chairman Joe, on these items here. Has everyone had a chance to review the actual rental rates that are being proposed? If you have any concerns or questions, but I wanted to make sure the council is in agreement with those rates. And if you had any comments about them, otherwise I would like to ask that the council adopt them and approve them tonight for the next, at least next year or so.
Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, the top row, so it says hourly resident rate, daily resident rate. So the $40 would be a non-resident rate hourly, and then resident rate would be $25 hourly, correct?
Yes.
And daily 8 hours maximum, that would be for non-resident, and then 8 hours maximum would then 175 would be for the resident.
Yes, and that's for the community room only, including the kitchen.
Okay. The difference between resident and non-resident, I just wanted to make sure that I had that. Okay, thanks.
Got the gymnasium the same way, and then you got the community center plus the gymnasium for rates for that if they want both. Of course, you deposits and
Someone could actually, as a resident of this city, they could rent the community room, the kitchen, the gymnasium, everything for 8 hours as a resident for $325. That's about as cheap as you're going to get for that kind of space in an 8-hour time period. If you're not a resident, it costs you $465 for 8 hours.
What if a church wanted to use
They pay.
it? They would be deemed a category. There's not a non-profit category. They would be deemed a.
Well, actually, we're yeah, non-profit, but they still pay for use of the facility just for upkeep, overhead, stuff like that.
profit gets 10%.
And stuff like that.
Percent.
We have a church right now wanting to enter into some form of contract for some use of it on Sunday mornings and Wednesday nights for church fellowship on Wednesday evenings, and then something in the kitchen area for Sunday mornings, which not too many people rent our facility on Sunday mornings, other than maybe a church.
Thought about the rooms upstairs?
We'll rent anything down there. We'll rent you the broom closet if you want to pay.
If somebody wanted to rent a room upstairs for a class.
Yes.
I met with a yoga instructor already, and the way I see us handling those currently would be similar to the way we've handled our golf classes. I met with her there, the yoga instructor, and we would make an arrangement with her what she needs to teach a yoga class and how much we would need above and beyond that in order for her to use our space. It would be a little different setup because a yoga instructor may need a different rate than what perhaps a model railroad club who just doesn't make any money or anything on it might. So some of those have to be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. But if I'm bringing in a yoga instructor, then we would set up a number and say, here's what we're going to get, and here's what you're going to get. So it would be a little different from these rates. These rates are pretty set, but the upstairs space may be a little different. But we're going to have to bring in a monitor either way. If it's going to be during a weeknight or on a weekend, if we got to bring an employee in, then we've got to make sure we get that covered.
Case by basis is just begging for ambiguity.
It is, but however, what I'm saying, if I invite an instructor in, like a yoga instructor, then they may say, I usually get $40 an hour to teach yoga class, but I might invite another instructor in who says I usually only get $20 an hour. So we would work whatever we want to charge somebody to go to a yoga class. We'd come up with that charge, and we would work some sort of split deal with the instructor. It would be a little different than a rental. It would be a park-sponsored activity that we are receiving a portion of the fee for when they are getting a portion. Does that make sense?
Pretty big deal.
We absolutely have to. And if it's going to be just something upstairs, you know, we got to have somebody downstairs because the door's got to be open for people to come and go. So, yep.
Okay, let's keep moving. Far as the room rental rates for the facility, is everyone familiar with those? If you are, then let's go ahead and I'll certainly entertain a motion that you're comfortable with those, and we'll approve them as presented tonight.
Make the motion to accept the facility rental rates proposal as presented.
Motion has been made by Trey Kamer, second by Debbie Pollard. Any discussion on the motion? Not all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay, let's move into the next item. Chairman Joe, please. Is that the part-time?
Yes, a part-time monitor, facility monitor.
Okay. Everyone familiar with that job description for a part-time monitor? That's basically someone who Tim will call on to try to get an ad out there, and I thought he might need a little flexibility on that hourly rate. I don't know if you can find somebody of the caliber to sit there for $9 an hour. Maybe you can, maybe you can't, but he could have to pay 10. I'm not exactly sure, so I hate for us to lock in on a definitely hourly rate. Let's give him a little bit of leeway there. Maybe from 9 to 11 might handle it. So
If we looked at 9 to 11, we could do it commensurate with experience. If somebody comes in who's got a little different experience or background, that might be a little more valuable employee as opposed to a high school kid, for instance.
yes.
Where will the monies come from to pay for this? I'm trying to find, I think you're paying out of the,
We're going to try to get them out of the rental fees. We're going to try to get those out of the income. We're going to try to charge, Leslie, if that's your question. Say, for instance, on a 365-day rental for 8 hours, we'd pay a person $10 an hour. It's $80 out of the 365 we would get, okay? So depending on what Tim decides he needs as a monitor for what type of occasion, that's how we'll get the income. Now, we have in our present operating budget, I think, for community income this year, I think we have $5,000 or $6,000 in there. So that's Tim's job to make sure we reach $6,000 of outreach. So, so that's how it sort of is intended to happen, Leslie. Does that answer your question?
yes,
Okay.
this currently comes out of special appropriation and not for parks, so I just coming out of the special appropriations as well, but based on income coming in.
We have actually, I put $15,000 in the budget for part-time help, I believe, any way he thinks he could use it within the park system. That's painting fences, that's tearing down sheds, that's whatever Tim, as long as it lasts, he's got that ability to use that money in his park system if actually we rehire him tonight. So, anyway, what we're looking for right now is a motion to approve the part-time position for a monitor, if the council would approve that.
Second.
Motion made by Andrew Price, second by Leslie Wright. Any discussion on that motion? No? If not, those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, now, I think, Chairman, I think we're ready for the personal services contract with Tim Curtis for the next duration of time.
That was our meeting for July the 28th. I think that's about the only thing we discussed. And that, Debbie, do you have anything on that other than? Yeah, and the contract. The personal service contract is pretty much standard from before. I mean, it's pretty simple on that part of it. Basically, the only thing that we've, I mean, Tim has agreed to go till the fiscal year till June but not the only thing difference in there. We have agreed to pay him $1,700 a month versus the $1,200 a month he was making, and that's about. I think that's the only difference. Am I missing anything, Beach? And yeah, additional duties and the time, and of course that comes under whatever the mayor wants him to do and what he comes up with, but it's.
All right, Tim sort of passed the trial period.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah, the probationary period.
It's like I told him in the meeting. I'm very happy with everything it's done. I mean, with his background and his expertise in the park system, I think he's already been an asset to the city. So, there's no doubt in my mind. So,
we rolled the additional duties into the scope of work here on the personal services contract, whereas in the past there was an addendum to the contract which listed some things I was going to do in the first few months, and basically I presented to the Parks Committee that here's the things I've been doing. I'll keep doing those. Plus, I want to add these additional things that I feel like really need to be done, which includes establishing a budget for supplies and organization of what we've got at the community center. There's just so many things that we can move forward with here. Additional events and activities. Standardizing these rental procedures. We've got this. You all just approved the rates, but there's a lot more to it than just having the rates. We needed to devise a contract that's going to handle the various issues that could come up with rentals. If there's a wedding reception, how we would handle an alcohol policy and things like that. This is all things that need to be addressed. Also, I mentioned to the mayor that I could serve as a liaison at his behest if he wanted me to for any outside groups that would be related to Parks and Recreation. Updating all of our promotional materials. That's a nice flyer we've got the parks on it, but it is due for a major update, which would include programs and activities. Evaluating all of our parks and facilities, making recommendations for improvements. And lastly, I really believe the need is there to start looking at a strategic plan. And it says here in the contract, initiate a 5-year strategic plan for Parks and Recreation, identifying goals and objectives achievable within 1 to 3 years. So I really think that's something we need to do, as opposed to a shotgun approach to our Parks and Rec department. We need to start thinking long term about what we're trying to accomplish for the citizens here in the city. And that'd be some of the things to be additional to what I've been doing, which has mostly just been programming, some more long-term director sort of items that I think would benefit you guys.
One thing we may. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Leslie. Go ahead.
About how many hours a week do you work?
It actually varies. I have not been like somebody logging my hours all the time, but it's.
Everything you've been doing.
It varies a lot because like one week there'll be less, but another week when we've got something going on, there's quite a bit more. And I'm comfortable with the level, but there is a reason why we went to 1,700 from 1,200, because as I've gotten myself more and more involved in the job, I've been like, there's a lot to be done there. And I really believe that there is plenty to be done for a parks director here. And I'm very comfortable at this level as we add these additional duties. And as long as you guys are happy, all of you all are happy with what I'm accomplishing, that's the main thing. So. It's sort of going that way. Appreciate it.
That's what he agreed to do, is just stay the part-time situation right now, and then because of the fiscal year, ended in June, and then in that part-time we can talk about the future of what we want to do. But I thought it was, I mean, that's not, as you say, it's not a huge increase, but you know, it's still, Tim's agreed to it, and I think it's fair, and we approved for it, so, you know.
Let's go ahead and get it.
Is this resolution that I drafted up okay with you? It's basically just,
Yes.
you know, agrees to hire. I just want to make sure that everybody understands this is an independent contractor arrangement. So he's not an employee, not an agent. He'll get a 1099 and no benefits. That's another important. It's not really called a salary. It's called a pay, just pay.
Yeah, it's by contract, not by city employee or say so or whatever. Just first contract. Yeah.
The employee, I don't care if he is under contract. He's
Oh yeah, he's still a city employee. Yeah.
I mean, Chief Collette's, he's a contract person too, and you may not consider him an employee, but he does, and hopefully abides by what we want done. So we do have direct control and direction for these two individuals that are here under contract, Mr. Counsel.
Well, you got to be careful about calling him an employee.
I'm just saying, they're just because they're on a contract, they're not out doing their own thing. That's my point.
He can be terminated at will. Okay?
Right.
Terminable at will, but he's a good guy, so he wouldn't do it. Unless he gets, like I would do.
Okay, let's go ahead and deal with the resolution, please, and move on, I guess. You know, if Joe's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah. Yeah, I'll make a motion for resolution number 12, series 2021, a resolution for acceptance of personal services contract for Director of Parks and Recreation.
Okay, motion been made by Chairman Joe Davenport, second by Elsie Carter. Debbie Pollard and Trey were on that committee. I appreciate your all's work and effort there. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion before the council? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Tim, please go out into the parks and see, make sure all the lights are turned on tonight. Thank you.
If I can just say one more word, I really appreciate it, y'all. Thank you so much, and just thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the opportunity and for the council, all of your support. We've got a lovely town here. It's a great place, and you know, Parks and like I said earlier, Parks and Recreation is my first love, and I really mean that. And it's very important to quality of life for people in this community, and I appreciate the opportunity to work toward improving that as best we can and working together for the next till the end of June at least.
One thing that I want to say thank you to is Amber's Brown, who works extremely hard in our parks in assistance with our LaGrange Public Works. But Amber's is the person on the ground in our parks every day, correct, Corey? So I need you to work with Corey as to how we're going to handle any of those relationships and hopefully keep moving forward. But Amber's is a big asset to our parks today as we know it. Okay.
Absolutely true, and I've met Amber's and spoken with him a number of times, and that's the other thing I've really noticed working here in the time I've been here is how effective your public works department is and the police department, and I'm just really grateful for that. It's a great team atmosphere we've got here, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Okay, well, thank you.
Tim has a secret life, and that he's also a musician. And he's going to be one of the Trackside Tunes band this fall. So tell him, what's the name of your group?
Name. It's Cousin Easy and the Gutter Boys. We play classic rock.
Okay.
And I sing and play guitar. And I've been doing it for 40 years.
But look forward to it.
Tim, appreciate it. We'll see you at 6:30 in the morning. Okay. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Just like to thank the Parks Committee too, because you know we put in quite a few hours. Debbie and Elsie and Trey.
Right.
We've all got a good working relationship, and you know, and everybody's expresses their opinion. So, you know, it makes it great to be able to bring forward and recommend something for the park system. So, appreciate y'all.
Okay, thank you all for that effort. And anything else? You're finished with the Parks Department, correct, Joe?
That should do it, Mayor.
On to the Budget Committee report. Trey Kamer, Chairman. Go ahead, Trey, please.
So we met on the same day as the special meeting, so on the 28th, right after the Parks Committee meeting, and so we spent the bulk of our time talking about the Affordable Care Act, and Katie and Mayor gave a good overview of. They met with a gentleman named Joseph Coleman to talk about the uses of the new funds that are coming in, or I guess one of them has already come in. But we talked. I think in future meetings we'll probably have maybe a presentation of some sort to talk about all of the findings that we've had. I'm just going to touch on some of the things that we discussed. We do have to supply a narrative of expenditures every year, annually. So it's not like you can just spend the money however you wish and not have a detailed description and of how those funds are spent. Some of the things that we did talk about were uses of public space. So it has to be, I guess when we were discussing this, think about it as things that are kind of tangible. So not necessarily spending things on research studies or various things like that. Something physical as far as a use. We talked about tourism, and I know we've had a presentation by Heather and others last month or 2 months ago maybe about tourism type things. That is a permissible use, things to draw people to your city. KLC is constantly updating their website on rules and regulations regarding this. You are able to use it for stormwater type projects, as it's a category. Tourism is a category. Those were kind of the really high level. I'm not going to go into all the details there, but we did talk about some ideas that came out of possible uses. So one of those things is renovation of the clubhouse out at Eagle Creek, and we are planning on, I guess for this month, we're planning on having 2 budget meetings. One on the 11th to invite some guests, and then one on the 25th. So the 25th is the normally scheduled meeting. The 11th is basically going to be a special called meeting. But where I'm going with this is we're asking folks that might have uses for these appropriations on kind of going over their idea, taking some questions and fielding some answers on those things. But anyway, the golf course clubhouse idea, renovation idea, is going to be for the 25th of this month. And then we're also, I know I've kind of got this backwards, but that's going to be the 25th, and then we're also going to continue discussing the tourism ideas that were presented to us before. For the 11th, so we have a lot of interesting ideas. I feel like it's still kind of in the discovery phase, I guess, if you will. So one of the ideas that was brought up was the docking ports, I guess, for electric vehicles. So we were going to discuss that and try to find out some more details by the 11th. And then also to see if property acquisition is a possibility to use these funds towards. We did discuss we're going to have a presentation about the bus as far as using funds for that. Last month, Bill had provided everybody a copy of the High Point proposal, so we were going to ask High Point to come in and talk about their proposal. Are they seeking possible other folks out in the community to fund that project, just to kind of get a little bit more knowledge on that. We did have a proposal from LaGrange Utilities, so hopefully you guys will be able to attend on the 11th as well, and discuss there's a sewer proposal, and then discuss a little bit about water ideas, I guess, for that. We're also, I guess he skipped out of here. He was supposed to take a look at the skate park, a little bit more to see about funding for that. There was a discussion about, I guess there's a Tony Hawk Foundation that might be able to kind of match. So think about some of the other projects we've done around town or in the process of doing, where the city might put up so much, and then another entity might match that amount. So a lot of good projects proposed. Obviously, still anything is on the table for additional ones. But we're still kind of learning how these funds could be used in future states, and just making sure that we're following the rules for how these appropriations can be spent. I don't know if any committee member wants to add anything, or if Mayor, if you wanted to add anything additional.
No, we did receive, I think it was either Friday or Monday, a check from, I can't remember if it came from, I guess it came from Treasury, National Treasury Department, or it came from DLG, one or the other, but the check was in the amount of $1,169,329.38. So that was actually, that would actually be half of our allocation. So next year, about the same time, we will get the remaining part of that, another equal half. So from the Affordable Care Act, we will get $2,338,658.76. So as we talked in this meeting, some ways you can do it. The money has to be basically committed by end of 24, but you can carry it through 26 to get it spent in 2026. So if you want to do a portion of set aside and escrow some money in the first round of funding, but yet come the second round when you really want to add some more to it, you can do that just as long as it's appropriated, but the money will have to be sent by the end of 2026. But that's basically what Trey's talking about, and I think he's mentioned tonight that the different entities that have shown interest in some of the money thus far will be making their presentation to the Budget Committee on those 2 consecutive nights, correct?
Correct.
So, each council person is welcome to come there and observe, just to see what's being said and being talked about, so you're always welcome. Go ahead, Trey, please.
I think that was the basis of everything. So I feel like there's still a lot of discovery, I guess, and definitely looking for if anybody has any additional projects that they'd like for this money to possibly go towards. Please submit them. We just talked about them in Budget Committee. We would bring anything and everything back to full council. So. It's not like the Budget Committee's making the calls on all these things. We just kind of try to make sure that there's good discussion and bring it back here. And we've done that before on some of the other CARES Act money previously. So yes, thank you. Both meetings are going to be at City Hall. They'll be at 6 o'clock. So that's what we're looking at.
Okay. Is that end your report, Trey?
Sir, thank you.
Anybody reporting on behalf of Jason Taylor tonight from the Ordinance Review Committee?
Yeah, I'll give a brief synopsis of that. Jason's out of town. Ordinance Committee met on July 27th. we discussed a couple different things. We had a constituent bring a business license issue to us, and we are going to look at that ordinance and see where our exemptions are currently, if we want to add any, move any, or we're just going to revisit that in our next meeting as far as our business license tax. The state of Kentucky says cities can levy whatever tax on business licenses that we want, so we're going to look at that in terms of should we tax minors, for example, who have businesses, or people who have a home occupation business, which is not their main source of income. So we're just going to look at a few of those issues and see how other cities handle similar issues, and we'll bring something back to the full council if and when we revisit that. We also met with several members of the Historic District Commission about murals, and the current Historic District guidelines don't really cover any language in terms of murals. We have the Alley Loop project coming up, and so we're going to change some language in the current guidelines to adequately reflect what we want to see in the downtown area in terms of for murals versus signage. And Heather Hottenroth, who's the chair of the HDC, brought us some information to look at and to collaborate with the ordinance committee. So at our next meeting, we'll continue to look at potentially revising that ordinance regarding murals. And then I believe we discussed the short-term business license that we're going to be bringing to probably the next meeting, Beach, you think? Hopefully we'll have an ordinance to bring to the full council in regards to a short-term business license for peddlers, temporary businesses, food trucks, etc. And we'll bring that to full council for first reading. And next meeting is Tuesday, August 24th, 7 p.m.
Add just a little bit on that, because this is a council actually makes, because you guys make the laws. So we're trying to distinguish between a business license, which requires reporting, payment of a percentage, versus a permit. A permit is like a little card you get, for example, a food truck might get a permit, or a pop-up vendor might get a permit because they're going to be here today and gone tomorrow. They're not like a business that's there and they're making money every day. Okay, and you tax them tax as opposed to a fee. The difference between those things legally, and so a license is sort of this quasi-creature between a tax and a permit. And so we're going to define that. And for example, the flea markets, they're in town on twice a year. Are they supposed to? We don't know who they are. They come in, they're gone. Do we want to issue them a permit, require them to have a permit? They're a food truck. Do we want to? They're here, they don't pay taxes for property, they don't own any bricks and mortar, but they use the streets, they use the police, they depend on the fire department, so they're getting city benefits. So that's the hard question. Is to want to issue a permit, which may discourage some of these vendors from coming in on flea markets, or are they used to that? That's going to. We're the committee's struggling with that.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. Andrew, you finished? Thank you for that report, being a part of that committee, and I guess you will continue to discuss these items at your next meeting. Stephanie Winther, I feel like you're a director to a large degree of your department. Would you like to speak to the council tonight, either from the code enforcement side of your division and or the business because you deal with a lot every day in many ways. So I'd like to hear from you. If you'd like to speak.
To speak. Can everybody hear me okay?
As long as you can talk.
Phones do not work. We cannot hear you back there. The microphones are not working back there.
I think you have to get like this.
You have to get like
I
this.
think what these things need are extensions, because
Bigger that's going to grab all
once you do this, you can't hear us, so we're all back here.
or anything that the city attorney has to say.
How can they put this up, like you can talk in an iPhone across the room and Siri picks you up if you just ask somebody what time it is? I mean, how come?
I agree with Trey. I think the old microphones were better.
Maybe what they get
In and out a little bit, but you talk a little bit louder than Beach. Beach doesn't talk very loud, so.
Okay. Go right ahead.
For compensation tax, the deadline for the second quarter was July 30th. So we are in the process of getting all those in and processed. So next city council meeting, you'll have the second quarter report. We are staying on top of all of the projects that are going on in the city right now. We've got Speedway, we've got Fast Lane Liquor Store that is going in where the Valero is. We have the Oldham County Judicial Center, which is getting ready to get started. We have a building office that's being built over off of Button Lane. And then we have the Trilogy project that's going on. So we have a lot of projects that are going on, but we are staying on top of it with the contractors to make sure that everybody's getting business licenses and everybody's paying their compensation tax. So, other than that, we are just staying busy.
Can I ask something that I hear online all the time?
Sure.
About the liquor stores? People say, well, you were only supposed to have 3 of them. What changed?
What happened was LaGrange passed an ordinance allowing the liquor stores back when that all started. And I don't know, based on the population, they were given so many liquor licenses. Well, then the county went back and they wanted to do liquor stores, and so they opened it up and they got liquor licenses for the county. Well, because LaGrange is in the county, it's all incorporated. So I think there's still 27 more liquor licenses available, and that's countywide. They can go anywhere.
It's the way I understand it, we were originally moist, but when we went totally wet, the statute basically says you can have one liquor store outlet for every 2,500 people. Okay? So that being said, I think that equates to 27 total licenses countywide, and the city could have 22 of them if the remainder of them aren't taken up out in the county. So that's the reason you're getting what you're getting, and it's no quote or limit on that in the city because the whole city and county is totally wet. Okay? That's the way I understand it.
Yes.
So, I tell you what, those three new additions out there, whether you like liquor stores or you don't, but Speedway, Valero, and then the former
Got to talk about the Cox's Smokers Outlet. Yes.
They're all looking very nice in what they're doing. So I think the total renovation of all 3 of those is actually going to come out on the plus side as far as a city up that way. Looks like. Okay. All right. No questions for Stephanie tonight. If not, thank you very much, Stephanie. And see you tomorrow, 6:30 a.m.
Bring your concrete block.
Okay. Okay, let's keep moving, folks. We're about to get through this. Let's go ahead. Item 14. Tonight is when we set our real property tax rate. And Beach has a first reading of an ordinance there to try to eventually adopt our tax rate for the city at our next meeting. I will say that we have no reason, no intention to increase any tax rates whatsoever. So it's my goal and our goal to keep it the same, if not lower. But tonight, I think we're recommending the same identical rate for the next taxable year.
Oh, I'll just hopefully get this 2 inches from the foam. Are you closer?
That's better. That's better. Bruce is going to raise his hand up if he can't hear you, so watch Bruce. Your thing's not turned on. Now it is.
Now? Oh my gosh, no wonder you couldn't hear me.
Stephanie, get your
That's from being a computer programmer for like 15 years. Okay, this is an ordinance number 9, 2021. Reading and summary is an ordinance levying a general tax for the city of LaGrange. And basically, it's like John said, it's the rate of for real property is 20 cents per hundred, which comes out to 2%, and personal property is 26.5 cents per $100 of personal property, which comes out to 2.65% of its assessed value.
And that's stands as the first reading for that. We'll have a public hearing on it next month. Correct? All right, let's keep moving forward. We have a second reading and a public hearing tonight on Ordinance 8-2021, amending the utility ordinance. What committee did that come through? Did it come through? I think Trey was involved with that. Was that the ordinance committee, Trey, or who?
Ordinance committee with Jason and Leslie and Andrea.
Okay. Anybody like to speak to that ordinance or make the motion based on what the need or purpose of what that was for, please?
Well, since I wrote it, it's
make a motion though.
I thought you just wanted it to read in summary.
I need to get it introduced here by Councilman. But if you want to go ahead and briefly tell the public what it's about, you're welcome to.
Okay, well, in reading it in summary, to comply with the law, it's ordinance number 8, series 21, which is an ordinance amending the Utility Commission ordinance relating to publication of water and sewer rates and charges. And the reason that this was brought up was that historically the rates for sewer and water have been published as ordinances, and it was almost impossible, but it has been not possible, it just wasn't ever done to keep it current. And so ordinances 52, there's 3 or 4 ordinances, 55, 56, 57, and 58, all were tables that were codified into the ordinance that were all wrong based on what we actually charge. And so Scott thought they keep this, all their actual rates are published on their website, which is top notch, and it has the current rates that are approved by the Utility Commission. And then, the City Council then approves the budget that the Utility Commission. So everybody has some say-so in it. It's just it wasn't getting updated on the website or on the ordinances. And so we just decided to do away with the whole publishing in the ordinance of the actual rates for water, which is the first paragraph here. And the second paragraph in this motion has to do with the sewer rates. The same thing. They were being published and they were way out of date. And it was confusing people that would go to the ordinances to look to see how much their bills were. So right now, all we're doing now is just forwarding it and asking the Utility Commission to keep their website up to date with the current pricing.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance 8/2021 that amends the utility ordinance so that they are able to publish on their website.
Okay, motion made by Leslie, second by Debbie Pollard. That being said, we have a motion, a second on the table at the moment. But what we would do, since we have that, is I'll entertain a motion that we go into a public hearing for the public to comment either way about this ordinance that's being presented tonight. So it's a motion made by Leslie Wright, second by Trey Kamer to go into public hearing. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, for the public's sake, you have heard the reading of the ordinance and the intention of it. So, is there anyone here tonight that's in support of the ordinance that's been presented, other than the utility commission, the utility director, and part of the utility commission? Anyone? I know they're in support of it, I believe. So, no, anyone else in support of it? If not, is anyone here tonight that's opposed to what's being presented? You've got a chance to speak up if you're opposed to what's being presented. Anyone at all? None being seen or presented. So, with that being said, any final comments by anyone on the opposition or the support side? You have this opportunity to speak up. If not, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion made by Leslie, second by Trey Kamer. Any discussion on closing the public hearing at all? If not, those in favor of the motion, maybe don't say an aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, we have a motion, a second on the table for adoption of this ordinance. Any discussion on the motion before the council? If not, none. All those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you all so much for moving through that. Thank you, Counselor. Thanks to the committee and Scott and everyone to hopefully clear that up. Okay. Public comment. We have another public comment opportunity. Anyone want to speak public comment? Last chance? No? Okay, anyone want to offer any new business? Any council person? Any new business you'd like to bring to the attention of the council and or the general public? I sure did. Thank you so much, Leslie, for reminding me of that. What basically this is the $200,000 that Scott Treese and the utilities across the state have been very involved with the area development districts, being KIPTA, which is our area development district, serves about 5 or 6 counties. I was on a Zoom call with them the other day. The city will be receiving the money into our general fund account, and then we will be making checks out to basically Tri-County Community Action Agency. That's been the agency that's been charged with administering these recipients and taking their information as to how much they're in arrears on their utility bills, primarily sewer, water, and electric. So what they will do, they will go to Tri-County Community Action Agency in Buckner. They would say, we need help. So I think each family is going to be entitled to so much each go around. And then once they decide that they're ready to come back again, we can expend up to $200,000, actually $184, because the state is allowing Tri-County a $16,000 administration fee to handle this money and take all these applications. So basically, that's what it's about. Stephanie Cooper is going to have to do some upkeep of this, the reporting part of all this. Anytime you get all this money, they attach so many regulations to it that we're going to have to abide by all of those, make sure all the money's accounted for. But it will help a number of different people in our community. And the county of Oldham also got $200,000 themselves. So we got $200,000. Oldham County got $200,000, and Tri-County will be doing their dispersals as well. So that's basically what I needed. I did not need this done by resolution. I just need it done by a vote of the council to make sure you're all aware of it. So I'll entertain a motion if you're okay with this to move forward. Motion made by Elsie Carter, second by Debbie Pollard. Any discussion on that motion to move forward with this allocation of money? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, Leslie, so much for reminding me of that, because sometimes
I've got a question. Will the city of LaGrange get?
Excuse me?
Since the city of LaGrange gets $200,000 and the county gets $200,000, is there going to be a way, once we give it to them, some sort of safeguard that people aren't double dipping in the city and getting city money and county money? Do you know anything about that? I know that
will be Tri-County's everybody's responsibility, okay? In the administration, who's coming forward. I know they have great documentation on who's either double dipping or something like that, Leslie. It's a good question, though.
When LaGrange Utilities know citywide who's, or in their area, who's behind or not, or...
Come up here, Scott, please.
Yeah, I'd like to know on LaGrange Utilities end.
Apply through Tri-County Community Action for this, so they won't apply through us for this money. Now, that doesn't mean Tri-County Community Action might not contact us. I don't know if they will or not.
Will to pay you up, you know.
As far as verifying with us, I'm not sure if they'll call us and say, hey, does this person truly owe? I don't know how that portion is.
And on part of this discussion, though, haven't you?
Yeah, we submitted our numbers back in February or something of that nature.
Who was
at what we had, that people that were behind at that point,
delinquent or whatever you'd say.
Them have caught up since then, but I'm sure there still are. But it also goes to electric, not just water and sewer, so they can apply for that. And my understanding is they're going to pay for maybe up to 6 months in advance for them from whatever point they pick up. So it'll be good for customers that are behind even currently.
They pay that directly to the utilities, whoever it is.
Apply with Tri-County Community Action. Once they're approved, then they'll pay us directly.
You do not walk out there with the money. Right. That comes straight to you all once the paperwork's done.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Right. Thank you, Scott, for that. Perfect. Okay. Now, do we have any new business anyone would like to speak about?
I just forgot to. Of course, we meet the Parks Committee meets the second Wednesday.
Roy, thank you, Scott. Appreciate it.
We meet the second Wednesday every month, and I did forget to mention that August 11th will be the next Parks Committee meeting.
Okay.
We might.
August 6th.
With 5, yeah.
I think Trey has a meeting on that night too, correct, Trey?
Right after park.
It's 6 o'clock?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
All right. Yes. All right. That's under new. That's just information that Joe's provided.
Mentioned when we were.
Want to talk about anything new that you want to bring up tonight? No. Anybody want to bring up anything that we've talked about but yet it's unfinished? Elsie said skate park. We're talking about that with the committee as far as can it qualify and will it qualify? Can we do something about that and move on while this money is available? Okay.
When are they going to start dismantling? Have they already started or tomorrow?
We have a pre-construction meeting with Calhoun in the morning to sign the contracts and everything for that purpose. So we'll find out when they're going to mobilize and find out, I guess, specifically when they need us to start dismantling what's there. So that take place in the morning, I think at 10 a.m. Okay.
Does the council know about American skate people coming into town and you meeting with them, Mayor?
I think they saw, most of them saw the presentation that night by American Ramp Company about the skateboard.
About a meeting with you and actually looking at the site or whatever.
They American Ramp Company they had a wedding. One of the young men from the American Ramp Company out of Joplin, Missouri. Matter of fact, they know Kyle Edelman because they're all from the same town up there. Kyle Edelman, the minister of Southeast Christian, the pastor. They're all from the same area, very familiar with each other. Well, I don't know if Kyle knows them or not, but they know Kyle. But anyway, they came in here for a wedding. One of the partners, one of the young men worked for him. He's a skateboarder from day one, and they were having a reception at City Place, but he walked over to meet with Corey, myself. I think Beach came, and he took the whole area into town, that lower area over there, and he's ready to come back to the Parks Committee and maybe Springs Park Committee for a presentation, analysis of how he saw this lane, maybe a skateboard park down in there at some point. So he's definitely ready to do that, Joe. And so I've talked to Beach about that, about how much we can entertain his services, because eventually he's going to want some kind of fee probably to get in more depth of how he would do this. So we're still yet to work that out, but we're supposed to be having a Zoom meeting soon, Joe. Okay? So
I want to make it public that we actually working on it, and it's not just something that we're going to dismantle and we forgot about it, you know. I mean,
we most certainly have not forgot about it. No, I don't think anybody has that I know of this council. So
yeah, I just want to make it public that we are in.
What I wanted to do, I haven't been able to do it yet. LC, maybe you can help me, but I wanted to stop in, see some skateboarders, and I want to have a meeting over there, or just say hi to them, see if they can get their group of skateboarder buddies around, so we can sort of tell them what we have going on. I think that'd be good. You know, just meet over there with them some evening, 5 or 6 o'clock, and I'd like to speak to them so they know what we're up to as well.
On another note, I'm already getting emails for them wanting to buy part of the skate park. Equipment, some of the equipment.
Oh.
I'm getting an email, and I told them I'm sure it would have to be surplus or whatever, but.
All right.
Send a picture of the part they wanted.
Announcements? Anyone have any announcement that you'd like to get out there to the public? If you have a chance to get out Friday night, we're going to have the rescheduled, supposed to be held Friday night for Oldham County Day. It's actually going to be down in the LaGrange Square parking lot, backed up to the highway there. Allen Lane Band's going to be playing about 7 o'clock. We're having a LaGrange Has Talent show starting at 6 o'clock. So if anyone has talent, would like to come out and show us your talent, please show up at 6 o'clock. And we've got some nice prizes that have been donated by different businesses. They're pretty nice gift cards. So if anybody out there has any talent, I know we have talent in this town. So I sure would like to see it and show it off. So that'd be Friday night. Still yet, Corey's going to try to get the Kevin Woosley sign that you all approved going from LaGrange Elementary. Hopefully we can get that sign up there denoting Kevin R. Woosley Drive in front of LaGrange Elementary. I'd like to get that up. And also, I think Corey has plans for this week, I think, maybe, to get the fence that Corey had constructed there in front of LaGrange Elementary. It looks really nice, but he's planning on, I think, staining it this week. Is that still online, Corey? To stain that fence, make it look really nice, or whatever you do with it. Paint it, stain it, or whatever you call it. So that's online to be done. We were able to get a couple of new street lights down on Commerce Parkway in the cul-de-sac, up where the apartment building is and the daycare center. The lady runs the daycare. School starts and kids are dropped off there before daylight. It was really dark up in that cul-de-sac, so Corey's worked with KU to get a couple street lights up in there. I know they're all up for. I don't know if they're operational yet or not, but that hopefully that's going to serve a nice lighting idea down there. That's about it for myself. If no one else has anything, I would like for us to have a quick executive closed session under the ability under KRS 61.810, discussions of proposed or pending litigation against or on behalf of a public agency. We won't be there long. If anybody would like to hang around, we're just going to move next door there. And I just want to bring the council's knowledge up on an issue we have going, so they'll be familiar with anything like this. So with that being said, if y'all want to hang around, we'll be back, I hope, very quick, because it's 5 minutes to 9, and I know everybody wants to get home. So. Okay, motion made by Leslie, second by Andrea, I believe it was. Okay, any discussion on that motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, let me know, saying aye. Anyone opposed? We'll be back in just and a little bit of hope. I think we will.